Coase's Theorem and Outsourcing by Tyler Shelton,
Malik Osei-Frimpong,
and Marco Bermillo. What is Coase's theorem? It is an economic allocation or outcome in the presence of externalities. If an externality is possible and there are no transaction costs, bargaining will lead to an efficient outcome, regardless of the initial allocation of property rights. In practice, obstacles to bargaining or poorly defined property rights can prevent cohesion bargaining. Coase's theorem background information. A theorem in law and economics named after Ronald Henry Coase, a British-born American-based economics professor at University of Chicago Law School. He also wrote a paper, The Nature of the Firm, which also is about the role of transaction costs, and earned a Nobel Prize in Economics in 1991. Coase's theorem example. Let's say that a library was built next to a workshop, and both have their own demands to make profit. The library demands silence, but in order for the workshop to function, they must use their machinery, which makes lots of noise. The profit that the workshop makes is $500, and the library makes $250. If the focus is just on the output, then the workshop should be allowed to make noise in order to make money. But there are several ways this could turn out. First outcome. The workshop gets the right to make noise, therefore the workshop earns $500, and the library earns none because they can't function without silence. The second, the library gets the right to silence, therefore they earn $250 and $0 for the workshop because they can't use their machinery, which is inefficient. Third output, the workshop and the library negotiate with each other to where the workshop pays the library $300 so that they can make noise. In this scenario, both parties are satisfied because the workshop is able to operate, though they are making less, and the library may not have business, but they make more money this way. Well-specified property rights and low to zero cost of negotiation may lead to efficient outcome. The conditions don't depend on who has the right to achieve efficient outcome, but care if they have the rights to stay in business. Let's make things a little bit more complicated. Fourth output. If both claim their rights to operate and the workshop finds it too expensive to keep paying the library, then the workshop has to come up with something different. This alternative is to soundproof the shop so that it makes less noise. This alternative will cost the workshop $150, which is still cheaper than paying the library. This way, both businesses can stay open and make profit. When transaction and negotiation costs are kept low and the property rights are well specified, there won't be a need for public intervention. The application of this theorem is used widely, especially in law and economics.
Some people may be confused on why exactly it's like this, but here's a brief explanation. Although long-term costs and contracts disable a person from making certain decisions and also hinder a company's flexibility, there are more important positive aspects that relate. A company that ties themselves to long-term deals and agreements guarantees that they have everything necessary for a suitable future. This lessens overall stress levels, unforeseen expenses, and time that will be wasted in negotiating new agreements. Coase's theory from a general aspect suggests that people would rather pay long-term costs and lose flexibility versus having multiple short-term associated costs with more flexibility. Doug owns a Speedy Hut burger joint. He feels as though the salary he's paying his drive-thru employees could be lessened by actually outsourcing that particular position to China. Doug can choose from the following contracts: a 2-week agreement costing $7,000, a 1-month agreement costing $13,000, or a 6-month agreement costing $41,000. The slightly cheaper price Doug will get by picking the longest agreement is not the point of the example. Regardless of the slightly cheaper price Doug will get if he chooses the longest agreement, he will choose the longest anyways, because that deal will have the greatest minimization of transaction costs. Choosing the longest agreement will do the following: eliminate time wasted having to meet to sign a new contract every 2 weeks. Minimize unforeseen expenses researching new companies to handle the outsourcing. Guarantee stability for that position in his franchise. Reduce stress and allow Doug to build stronger relations with the clientele.
Companies are outsourcing more and more around the world each year. General Electric's chief executive, Jeffrey Immelt, a close Obama advisor, told the Wall Street Journal last year that 30% of GE's business was overseas in the year 2000. Today, it's around 46%, and the majority of GE's employees are now overseas. A 2011 report from the U.S. Commerce Department says that about a third of the roughly 31 million U.S. employees of multinational firms work abroad, and that number continues to grow. That's because, with only about 4% of the world's population and burgeoning middle class that are located in several heavily populated developing countries, such as Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and the fastest growing markets are outside of the U.S. Caterpillar is the world's leading manufacturer of construction and mining equipment, diesel and natural gas engines, industrial gas turbines, and diesel-electric locomotives. The company is a leading provider through Caterpillar Financial Services, Caterpillar Remanufacturing Services, and Progress Rail Services. You can also compare Caterpillar to General Electric, whose overseas workforce grew by 39% between 2005 and 2010, compared to a 7.8% U.S. increase. Caterpillar is outsourcing today more than ever. Economists refer to this process of turning to those who can produce a product or service at a lower marginal cost as comparative advantage, and it's the key ingredient to an efficient and productive economy. Nike is another example of a major company that outsources a big part of their corporation. Nike currently enjoys 47% of the market share of the domestic footwear industry, with sales around $3.77 billion. Nike has been manufacturing throughout the Asian region for over 25 years. There are over 500,000 people today directly engaged in the production of their products. They utilize an outsourcing strategy using only subcontractors throughout the globe. The majority of the output today is produced in factories in China, Indonesia, and Vietnam, but they also have factories in Italy, the Philippines, Taiwan, and South Korea. These factories are owned 100% by subcontractors, with the majority of the output consisting solely of Nike products. However, Nike does employ teams of 4 expedites per each of the big 3 countries to focus on both quality of the product and quality of the working conditions.